Franklin Roosevelt sworn in as 32nd President of the United States. American airship Akron crashes off the coast of New Jersey, killing 73 of 76 crew on board. It was the worst crash in aviation history up until that point and wouldn't be surpassed until 1950. The repeal of Prohibition traded for the Gold Confiscation Act. The year is 1933, and this was the swan song from a really different company that made air-cooled engines called Franklin. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that covers the lost and forgotten brands like Studebaker, Packard, Hudson, Nash, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Franklin, Cord, among many others. We try to post between 4 and 5 episodes each week. Engine episodes on Wednesday. Psst, if you like this video, there are 368 videos just like it. Dive in deep on history, specs, design, and most importantly, show what these cars are like. If that sounds of interest, the channel that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. Franklin was founded, that's a bit tricky, because every source seems to have a different date. Anyway, Franklin was founded by Herbert H. Franklin. He built his first engine, which was air-cooled in 1901, and built a runabout body for it to go into. He would sell the runabout in 1902 for $1,200. It's important to note, before getting into the auto business, Herbert H. Franklin was in the die-cast business. John Wilkinson was the engineer responsible for building the first Franklin car with high-quality, lightweight materials. Franklin's had a reputation for dependability and long life. All Franklins used air-cooled engines. Franklin would build cars from 1901-ish to 1934, and just like a lot of other companies around the Great Depression, Franklin just found out they wasn't solvent at one point. It's important to note that they went down market, as did a lot of companies during this time period, to try to stay afloat with a car called the Olympic. It was built on a Rio chassis, but used an air-cooled engine. Franklin also cut prices to attract buyers, but it wasn't enough to keep the company afloat, and would ultimately declare bankruptcy in 1934. It's important to note that Franklin engines would live on. That side of the company was purchased by some ex-employees in 1937 and would be renamed Air-Cooled Engines. They would make engines for aircraft during World War II. Preston Tucker would buy the company for $1.8 million. Tucker would own air-cooled motors until 1961, when it was sold to Aero Industries. Air-cooled motors would remain in operation until 1975. Franklin had a list of first. It was the first 4-cylinder air-cooled car, first 6-cylinder air-cooled car, first V12 air-cooled car, drive-through springs, spark advanced in 1907, aluminum pistons, electric carburetor priming to speed up cold weather starting. Luxury car brands of the 30s were engaged in something called the Cylinder War, and Franklin very much wanted to be a part of that. Peasant cars had 4 6-cylinders, while Cord, Duesenberg, Peerless had 8 cylinders. But let's be clear, the Duesenberg, when supercharged, was king of the hill. There wasn't anything more powerful than a supercharged Duesenberg. Also important to note, by 1932, Ford would also have 8 cylinders, bringing a V8 to the masses. Cars that had V12s included, but not limited to, Auburn, Pierce Arrow, Packard, Cadillac, Lincoln, Franklin. Cars that had V16s, Cadillac, Marmon, and it's important to note that Peerless made 1 prototype. 1933 Franklin model lineup. In the basement was the Olympic Series 18A, which rides a wheelbase of 114 inches, followed by the Airman Series 16B, which rides a wheelbase of 132 inches. Both the Olympic and Airman were powered by a 274.2 cubic inch displacement air-cooled 6. At the top was the V12 Series 17B, riding a wheelbase of 144 inches. The V12 could be had as a 5-passenger sedan, 7-passenger sedan, limousine, or Club Brome. Franklin would offer the V12 from 1932 until the end in 1934. Ads will claim that it's supercharged, but it's not supercharged in the way that, say, a Duesenberg is supercharged. Franklin's had an air duct from the cooling fan that pushed air. Doesn't make more power from this fan duct application, if that makes any sense at all. It's not like one would say a traditional supercharger. It's important to note that the 12 was planned for release in 1931, but it wasn't ready until 1932. Let's talk specs. Tons of conflicting information on this car, but it rides a wheelbase of 144 inches. It weighs 5,900 pounds. Price, $2,885, which is equivalent to you spending $68,305.48 in the year 2023. The bodies were done by LeBaron, and as the story goes, it was originally designed for Lincoln, but the body style was rejected. Notice the grille and the windshield share the same slant. It's aluminum bodied over ash, and this is where things conflict. Lots of sources say that it was bodied by LeBaron, but it was built in Syracuse at the Franklin factory. Not sure if it was built at LeBaron or Syracuse. Total 1933 Franklin was 1,100 units. Total V12. This is also conflicting information. Some sources say that less than 200, but the Book of Collectible Cars, written by Richard M. Langworth, says around 400. From 1932 to 1934, less than 20 are known to survive. Moving on to engine, only one engine on offer, 348 cubic inch displacement, air-cooled V12, 6.5 liters. It's good for 150 horsepower at 3,100 RPM. 254 pound-feet or 344 newton meters at 1,800 RPM, which is an estimate. Bore of 3.2 inches and a stroke of 4 inches. Compression is 5.1 to 1. Theoretical top speed of 95 miles per hour. So just look at these bumpers. Look at how clean they are. There is a center line here. Overriders. How it's all connected. Just look at how this is all designed. This car doesn't have a huge mascot on the top of it like cars from this period do. The headlights are huge. Just look at how these fenders are designed. Beautiful wire wheels.
No, it doesn't. It's my own section. It was raining so hard this morning.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's got two cowls. The windshield wipers are at the top, which so you can crank out the windshield. Just look at how nice these door handles are.
Really bad. I bring my army field jacket. I got an umbrella. No, the umbrella hit the cars. I'm trying to think of what. And then it winds up being nice.
1 year is still running here a couple years back.
So just look at these fenders and how they come back. These tail lights. The bumpers mimic the front bumpers, except for they don't have the overrider bar, but they do have the center line there. So trunk rack all folds out. Gas filler is on the passenger side. Also notice all this pinstriping. There's this 3 tiers here. There's also nice pinstriping around the windows. This car doesn't have drip rails, instead it's kind of like a flare. Just look at all the pinstriping around the windows. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, clutch, brake, gas pedal. That's what over the hood would look like. That's what first person over the hood would look like. On to the button switches and knobs, starting at the steering wheel. Horn, I believe this is for throttle control, that lever there. Moving left to right, starter, glove box, just below that, ride control, which I believe stiffens and softens the shocks. Key, speedometer with odometer and tripometer inside of it, oil pressure, amp meter, clock, lighter. I apologize, I have no idea what the rest of them do, aside from the top center pull is for the choke. The gauge in the lower middle has gas on the right, and on the left, this is just a guess, but oil level. Another glove box to the right.
Up above, there are windshield wipers and a rear view mirror.
What it's like. I'll be quiet.
Well, I was looking at the front of it.
Sun visors. Check out this interior.
On the positive side, spectacular engineering for a unique specification, magnificent coachwork, CCCA classic status. This car isn't over the top for what it is. It's one of those cars that you either know what it is or you don't. With only one Franklin V12 badge that I saw on the car on the bottom of the grille. This car has an awesome dashboard. Against it, they rarely come up for sale because there wasn't that many built. Very few survive. Parts are impossible to find. Could you imagine finding, or what the cost would be if you had to reproduce one of those fenders? High maintenance and high running costs. No open bodies. Can easily be mistaken for other cars. When I saw this drive into the show, I thought it was an Imperial. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. Two scenarios today. Would you rather have a 1933 Packard 12 or 1933 Franklin V12 or 1933 Cadillac 12? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for the second scenario. 1933 Auburn 12 or 1933 Franklin Air-Cooled 12 or 1933 Pierce Arrow 12. Once again, going to leave this here. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Moving on to Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. If you don't have Facebook and would still like to reach me, send me an email. All of it will be linked in the description below. Just know I appreciate all of the information, comments, and concerns that you guys bring in the comment section below. Until next time, toodaloo! She only drinks coffee at midnight when the moment is not right. Timing is quite unusual.